Hello everyone, welcome to my online prep. Today we'll start with part 2 of chapter 14, that is training methodology. In today's session, we'll be learning about the concept of training and career development, soft skills training, the challenges faced by banks in training, what is the training infrastructure in banks, talent management, creative talent and dynamic relationship, that is a winning combination for banks, what are the strategies to hone up the leadership skills, training for the new generation, return on investment on training, how can we measure the success of training and the best practices in training to help the organizations. So let us start with the first topic of this session. So far, we have studied that one of the most important goals of training is providing career development to the employees. But here one issue arises, that is of the generational differences. There are the middle-aged staff whose needs for career development are different from the younger generation, or that is more commonly known as the Gen X or Gen Y. These also differ from the older staff that is working in the organization. The older staff, they require information, they want to act on it in a linear fashion. On the other hand, millennials, they want information quickly and from multiple sources. They prefer internet for training and learning. Older generation, they prefer more on the physical infrastructure like the staff training colleges. So the generational differences exist. Expectations and approaches vary. But organizations can solve this issue by adjusting their horizontal talent management strategies that can accommodate each generation. Herein, technology plays a very important role. It helps us develop strategy around effectively managing a multi-generational workforce. Strategies for training that is going to cater to the needs of each of the generation, while the younger generation they focus on more praise for them, performance management. This can be developed with more frequent and personalized opportunities to receive feedback. Also, older generations' needs can be taken into consideration, the relevant learning and training information, materials, and activities. This can be prepared. So, this can be the solution to the multi generational issue in the organization. Another important issue of training is the soft skills. So, let us see how soft skills training is important. Now we are talking about the banking industry. It is a service-based industry where constant contact and interaction is necessary not only between the employees but also directly with the customers. So soft skill training is important. It is related to the behavioral aspects, the employee behaviors and attitudes, especially when they're dealing with the customers. Like the frontline staff, they have direct contact with the customers on a daily basis. For them, they need to have the soft skills, how they're going to listen. They need to be good listeners. They should have empathy, how they are going to respond with more understanding. For this, almost all the banks have since devised a host of training programs on soft skills. It will encompass all the categories from the subordinate staff to the top executive level officers as well. One of the most important or well developed program was during the year 2015-16. Central Bank of India, it is a nationalized bank, it had devised a program titled Manthan, which is a soft skill program of 2 to 3 days duration covering all the staff members. The training program encompasses topics like everyone can make a difference to create an urge for performance, ownership and coordination, working as a team, teamwork and team building is emphasized, importance of customer for the business under the customer relationship, how to win customers, customers relations again, the business etiquette, behavioral aspects, service excellence, etc. How they need to behave when they are with their superiors, how they need to talk to the customers. All of these things they come under the soft skill training. The right attitudes and behaviors, good communication skills, effective leadership qualities, managerial excellence, etc. So self introspection, goal setting, attitudinal change, these were the factors that were focused under the soft skills training. Similar programs have been conducted by other major banks also before and after that. Basically, the main aim is the same as mentioned here. However, when the banks are developing their training modules or training strategies, there are some challenges that are faced by them in imparting training to its employees. First, there's a vast network of branches and wide geographical distribution covering all the branches, taking into consideration the typical needs of a particular area, the geography. It is a big difference, a huge challenge. Then there's a huge workforce. Number of people who are working as employees in the banks is very large. We need to cover all of them. We need to provide training. Also, personalized training programs for different needs and skills. These needs to be developed. Hierarchical levels of officers and various entry levels are also different. There are more than 10 hierarchical levels. Diversified educational background is there. People, they come from all the kinds of educational backgrounds. Some are very well educated, some they enter the banks only after their graduation. So that also needs to be taken into consideration, whether they know the language English or they need to know more about that. Frequent rotation of staff and variety of roles are played. Rise in the customer needs and expectations, the dynamic environment. Then there is increased competition, so there's an urgency. On an urgent basis, we need to provide them with the new skills. Fast changing technology, again the banking sector is adopting the new technology, and herein more and more training needs to be provided for each and every one. Wide range of banking services and products. Actually, it is very difficult to cover all the banking services and products. Every individual cannot learn about everything that is available. So these are the key challenges that the banks, they need to face when they're developing or when they're imparting training to its employees. Now, let us see what is the training infrastructure in banks. The public sector banks, as well as all the well established foreign banks, have always been in the forefront of organized training for their staff members. All of them have elaborate training establishments that are spread over vast areas, where besides classroom training, a number of facilities are available for recreation and outbound training. Now, most of the public sector banks have a number of staff training colleges all across the country. These staff training colleges, these are headed by a senior functionality with considerable exposure. Generally, the training for award staff and officers in Scale 1 are held at the staff training centers, and the training for officers in Scale 2 and above, but up to Scale 4, are held at the training colleges of the respective banks itself. So it differs according to the level. In order to give impetus to training initiatives in the rapidly changing competitive scenario, banks are now turning into centers of excellence that are professed at imparting high-end training in areas like HR, credit, NPA management, agri credit, etc. That is the different important areas that are required in the banking services. So centers of excellence, wherein proper knowledge is imparted to the staff. The management development programs for the senior executives in the level of scale 5 and above. These are imparted through deputing them to external training institutes like NIBM is there, JNIDB, BIRD, CRRNID, CAIIB, IBM, etc. In addition to the IITs and IIMs that are existing. In addition, some of the officers who are specialized in the certain training areas of banks are also sent for foreign trainings as well. And also seminars and conferences are conducted that can be attended by them. Some of the banks like SBI, Union Bank of India are also having huge training infrastructure in terms of training colleges or institutions. They can cater the training needs of not only their own officers but also of other banks. So this is the training infrastructure. It is well developed, definitely. It is developing more courses, more skills are included, more better imparting of knowledge is there. So the training infrastructure in the banks is profound. So training infrastructure is not an issue for the Indian banks. One issue is talent management. The public sector banks, they have not yet understood, or they are still in the early stages of understanding the importance of talent. Talent is the visible face of human resource. It encompasses competence, whether the individual is being able to do a task, commitment, whether they're actually committed, they're putting their skills into action, and contribution, whether they're willing to do the task. So the human capital management, it includes talent management as well. A better understanding of the term talent is important because the Indian banks, moreover the public sector banks, they need to arrest the rising human capital shortfall if they want to build effective and progressive human capital. More younger generation needs to be there. They need to be onboarded on the public sector banks because they are more tech savvy, they are more comfortable with the technology and the new products and services, the changing demand patterns. There's a lack of proper recognition for these talents. On the public sector banks, they are providing the basic pays on account on regulatory restrictions. So in the past, we have seen a shift towards the new generation private banks. They are providing better experiences through attractive designations and lucrative compensatory packages. So the banks, they need to understand that if they want to retain their employees in the organization, they have to work towards talent management. So let us discuss in brief the roles of talent management, that is talent acquisition, talent development, and talent retention, and the contemporary practices that are being followed by various banks. For talent acquisition, obviously the public sector banks, there are two sources of talent acquisition, that is internal and external. Internal sources are through a well structured process, that is spotting the homegrown talent, empower them through the evaluation. The people who are already working in the organization, they need to be monitored, that which employee has more skills, they have the potential to learn more. The external sources of talent acquisition are through inducting the talents from outside the job markets, that is on the basis of their qualification, experience, and skills. Then next step is talent development. It is not enough just to identify and infuse the talent through the internal and external sources. It is also equally important to develop such acquired talent through the institution's competitive advantage, how we can enhance their talent. In the series of strategies to develop talent, training as the paramount tool thus plays a very important role. Then we have talent retention. Only understanding or identifying talent development is not important, but retention is also important, that is to keeping them in the organization for a longer period. The move to other, they might want to move to other places for better opportunities. So the willingness to stay with the organization is an attitudinal attribute, is mostly driven by the motivational strategies that are employed by the management, how they are going to motivate the employee. Such a willingness on the part of the employee can be furthered by institutionalizing certain incentives. They can be both financial as well as non-financial, various rewards, performance-based incentives, welfare measures can be taken. So talent management is not a choice. They need to take it. They need to focus on talent management if they want to retain the younger generation in their organizations. So, what are the factors that are going to differentiate their desired talent makeup? First is skills. It is actually quite evident that organizations need matching skills, and any compromise on that front can hurt the organization. However, when a market is driven by the external talent, so the hiring managers, they need to be satisfied with a few must-have skills. The must-have skills, if they are there in the employees, they need to be retained. Then scale with high attrition, especially in the IT talent pool and the pent-up demand after the pandemic. Enterprises, they need to hire more people than they ever did. So scale refers to the quantity of the enterprise. The hiring scale is essential to maintain a healthy talent pipeline to support the current business momentum. Then we have salary. Every hiring requirement within the enterprises, this starts with a budget. Likewise, every job seeker also begins by asking how much the employer can pay. So the salary should be enough that is going to justify the task or responsibilities allotted to the employee. Herein, fund in startups, they have an advantage. Then we have speed for the HR teams. However, the most controllable variable in the recruitment process is speed. That is, every industry or enterprise, they have defined the recruitment cycle of 4 to 6 weeks. However, this time cycle is becoming deterrent. So they need to recruit on more speedier basis. They need to bring the talent on board faster. Fingers first here, hiring managers can significantly solve this new hiring inefficiency by bringing speed to their recruitment process. They need to understand the skills that they want, then only they'll be able to identify. Cutting through the clutter. Herein, the hiring managers and enterprises, like they're focusing on a speed up. So tighter talent acquisition teams for the CV submission can be used, reducing the timeline for CV feedback, minimizing the rounds of interviews, combining interviews as panel. These are some of the steps that can be taken for speeding up the process of recruitment. Next topic is creative talent and dynamic leadership. It is actually stated that this is a winning combination for the banks. This means that along with talent development or training, it is also important that the leaders have those qualities that are going to motivate the employees. So talent with better leadership skills are going to help us to achieve the desired goals and expectations. Establishing a talent management framework and at the same time ensuring that line managers have the necessary competencies. These are crucial for the core HR team at the corporate offices of the banks. So these are going to help, they are going to make sure that the talents are able to achieve the desired results through creativity, innovation, wealth management, treasury management, credit management, various functions are there. But if they want to update their talents, they need to have good leadership. Developing creative talents, like we said, it is important for the banks to thrive as the banks of future. Creative talents, they need to be nurtured into effective leaders who can take on the senior and top management positions. They should have the innate skills to be good leaders, that people listen to them, that people follow them. In today's dynamic and competitive environment, leadership must be adaptable and it should encompass the various styles. We have studied about the various styles, including visionary, thought, inspirational leadership. So a mix, as and when requirement arises, the leadership should be able to adapt to that. Banks operate in a highly volatile and uncertain atmosphere, especially when we are seeing the emergence of the tech savvy Gen Z. So they are they're impacting their functioning. Banks must be prepared to manage the new generation of employees and customers. If they want to remain competitive, they should develop the agenda for the future that focuses on the capabilities, workforce productivity, and a high performance culture. So here we are talking about the leadership skills. There are certain important basic skills that are required to become an effective leader. They should have the visionary skills, effective communication skills, motivational skills, creative skills. Crisis management and dispute settlement are also important, good work ethics. So let us discuss some of the strategies to upgrade these leadership skills. First, we have create passion. Passion is referred to as a desire or craving for something. When the leaders are implementing the leadership skills, they need to be passionate in terms of their duties and responsibilities. They should be willing to perform that job or responsibility. The creating passion will enable them to carry out their duties diligently and attain the desired goals. Then imbibe leadership skills with situational awareness. A good leadership skills development, here it considers the bigger picture. It helps the employees to anticipate future well before to near reality. This ability will also help them to recognize the opportunities that others overlook. So imbibing leadership, this is one of the most valuable leadership skills to have when we are dealing with complex project that is looking for the future. Then create robust succession plans. Under this process, it is important to identify the successor well before the position becomes vacant, and there is time to place the suitable incumbent timely to ensure smooth transition. It is key for effectiveness. Under this process, the company can build the leadership pipeline as well from within the organization, as it has got advantages in that. Then nurturing an environment of role models, creating role modeling in effective leadership presupposes leaders to generate awareness in terms of various aspects. that is commitment towards achievement of goals and objectives. People should understand their job duties and responsibilities. Reliability should be there, providing opportunities. Therefore, modeling great leadership is the upgradation. It is actually the upgradation. If people see you as a role model, it means that you are a good leader. Spotting the leadership talents timely and utilize their potential productivity. It is actually comprehensively understood that when the individuals they attain the leadership positions, they possess the essential qualities and traits. So herein what we require is we need to understand the strengths that need to be augmented, and the leaders needs to be well aware in how they can make use of them in a well organized manner. Rewards and motivation. When the individuals in the leadership positions are determined and resolved towards bringing changes and improvements, then they develop motivation. It is again related to their own willingness. Some of the important ways of motivating the employees are giving rewards and incentives. They can be both financial and non-financial, promotional opportunities, open praise for good work, feedback, merit certificates, and so on. So rewards and motivation is important. Coping with constraints and challenges. These are a part of business. They can be minor, moderate, and major form. Hence, the leaders will be able to convert these challenges into opportunities. They learn how they can overcome such problems and challenges through improved leadership skills. They should be able to make the employees who are working in the organization sail through, take the organization forward towards the challenge, overcoming it. Also, it is important to develop constant learning habits. Learning is a lifelong process, it is a continuous process, and such a state of mind will keep the individuals in a dynamic state. So, learning should take place in terms of the modern, scientific, technical, and innovative methods that need to be put into operation to achieve the professional goals and also enhance the overall structure of the organization. So it is not only true in case of organizational context, but also personal life. We need to understand the new things that are necessary to develop our personality. We need to read books, articles, internet that will help us learn better. Imbibing creativity through study and research. The leaders can hone up their skills through imbibing these skills of constant research and studies on a regular basis. They should have a quest to discover new horizons in various verticals of the organizations like product innovation, cost benefit analysis, marketing strategies. Research can be conducted through making use of various materials again, internet, books, articles are there. And finally, the ability to accept failures. Learning how to recognize successes and failures, it is actually one of the essential leadership skills that every potential leader should have. Even the most powerful, inspiring leaders can make mistakes. It is very natural. Hence, the leadership skill development process must consider including a step wherein the potential leaders they learn to recognize an error. They should admit it openly, and then this will only help them take action to correct it and move forward with such experiences. They can learn from their mistakes so that they are not repeated. Alongside, taking responsibility for a failure or an error is also important for team building and attributing successes to the team members. So these are some of the strategies that can be used to enhance or hone up the leadership skills. Next topic is training for the new generation. Now, before we proceed with discussing the new inventions, we need to understand the various concepts and definitions of various demographics based on their age group. First, we have the baby bloomers. These are the people who were born after independence, roughly between 1947 and 1964. These are characterized as hardworking, disciplined, God fearing, pious, value driven, etc. Then came the Gen X. That denotes a generation of people born roughly between 1965 and 1981. This generation was impacted heavily by the social and economic conditions, and this the next we have the Gen Y that encompasses those born between 1982 and 2001, often referred to as the eco boomers because they are the children of the baby boomer generation. They are tech savvy, they prefer quick communication via texting and emailing. They're motivated by money, status, and career advancement. These are the people who are most educative, assertive, vocal, connected, confident, and independent. Then we have the another upcoming generation that is referred to as the Gen C, that is born after 2001. They are characterized as highly connected, communicative, collaborative, computerized, community oriented, and always clicking due to their immersion in technology. They are more technologically oriented. These are the people who are born after 2001. They are imaginable, more of a silent generation. Then we have the public sector banks that are already struggling to manage the Gen Y. They will face additional challenges with the Gen C, who are highly intelligent and demanding professionals. They have different demands, what are going to keep them in the organization. The banks need to understand this, evolve proper strategies today itself to manage this generation and more meaningful delivery. Now let us see the generational differences. What is a contemporary view for that? So, as discussed, in our workplace, we generally see people from all across the age span. There are different generations from baby boomers to Gen Y, and even Gen C are entering the workplace. So, there are various researches that are conducted in this matter. The generational differences at work matters little. So, one of such view was advocated by Bobby Duffy in his book titled Generations. Does when you are born shape who you are? So they are talking about whether the generational differences actually matter when we are talking about a workplace. So some of the thoughts of this matter are summarized here. It is stated that it is only human to look for patterns and try to make sense of randomness. But single explanations are usually inaccurate. They muddle cause and effect. One could speculate that a technology like a smartphone that is existing today, mass adopted in a little over a decade, has interest generational divides by sealing people. All generations are understanding smartphones. It was earlier thought that only the younger generation or the new generation would be able to understand it, but smartphone is being used by all the generations, old and young included. Then there are only three explanations of how attitudes, behaviors, and beliefs change over time. These are known as the period effects, life effects, and the cohort effects. Period effects are about events and times that alter everyone. The way a spike in a terrorist attack is going to have a same reaction in many people's mind, whether their age or identity. Then life effects are about how people tend to change in a uniform way, that is when they gain weight after a certain age in their life and their metabolism slows down as they get older. And cohort effects are what actually differentiate the generations and are shaped as how one is being socialized. For instance, the dominant attitude to religion when one was born. So all of these effects can show in combination or alone, which is why it is hard to isolate the generational change. We often hear of difference in the young people's working styles and their attention spans, but these are to do with the employment related areas, the reduced returns from higher education, while there are certain beliefs that there are attitudinal differences in all the generations. They can also be seen that this matters less, but these are to do with the employment and reduced returns from higher education. Now today, after the COVID-19 pandemic, it presents the greatest test for these theories of intragenerational or intergenerational differences, how the life periods or the life events are going to affect the individuals. So these are a contemporary view. They view that although there are differences, but the generation doesn't matter. All the generation can adjust and adapt to the new changes equally. They might face challenges and difficulties, but they will be able to do that. Now, let us see how the Gen Y can be provided training, that is, training the new generation. HR managers around the world have been learning this past decade to deal with the new generation of tech savvy, smart, and the younger generation who join the workforce with a completely new set of beliefs and convictions. They trust the internet more, they're addicted to the web-based features, they have million friends across all networks. They're eager to learn anything new that is provided to them. So, if the organization does not have the time or resources to offer the ongoing training, they must implement a static training program. This should be simultaneous or online training features that are available so that the employees can be kept engaged. Some of the best modes of training for the younger generation or the Gen Y. First, we should keep it short. Gen Y learns best from the information that is delivered in short bites rather than one giant lengthy chunk of information. Like a lengthy chapter is divided into different parts that ranges from half an hour to 1 hour. So break up the long training courses into multiple shorter sessions to help the employees better consume the information. Then make training entertaining. Here, explore the training options that incorporate computer simulation, online courses, and social media applications. Here, entertaining audio and video will hold their attention, ensuring that the Gen Y employees actually retain the message. So they will understand it when more technology is incorporated. Allowing freedom. If possible, give employees the option to attend training at a time that is suitable with their schedule. Like you can watch a video lecture or you can attend a session that is online, record it at any time that you want. Whatever podcasts may provide more flexibility, so the trainees are allowed the freedom to participate in courses according to their leisure. Explore mobile learning, that is M-learning. If the resources are available, provide on-demand training experiences using the mobile devices. Chapter reviews from training courses, share expert videos on the training topic. So e-learning courses basically. And finally, encourage teamwork. The millennial employees they generally flourish and enjoy working in the team environments. They like to interact with people from their generation, from their backgrounds, develop team activities that are led by senior employees or managers during and after training session. So when training any generational group, the goal must be to provide valuable training experience that give the employees the tools to develop in their careers. One new invention for providing training to the new hires at the new generation banks is gaming exercises. For some new hires at a new generation bank, play or gaming exercises, these are two terms that are used simultaneously. They can play an important role. Herein, gaming is an integral part of the induction program. These are being stated by various trainees in the banks. The new hires, especially the junior and the middle level managers in the customer facing roles, they are required to play online games as a part of their induction program. So games are developed that will have emphasis on the e-learning. Gaming aligns with their brand positioning, that is anytime, anywhere. So the training program includes games that are developed like queue management, check clearing, check payment, and savings account. There is simulations that are created for the customer service scenarios. So various companies are developing these games. For instance, the check clearing game involves all the steps that are there from the point a customer presents the check to the bank executive till the encashment of the check. For every right move that the player makes, they get extra points and they are going to win the game. So these games are developed by Tata Interactive Systems that focuses on the quick and efficient problem solving. Thus, the new hires must achieve proficiency in these games before they are allowed to actually interact with the real customers. Gaming is seen as a potential tool for skill enhancement and training, especially in the fast growing sectors. Gaming makes learning more engaging, particularly for the younger generation. They are known for changing their interest quite frequently. So games, that is the game-based training, is cost effective as compared to the traditional methods as well. So the banks has observed a reduction in the error rates and improved productivity among the employees that are trained through the games. But they're also at the same time cautious and they plan to assess the results across functions over time. So gaming technique is a new invention that is deployed in the new generation banks for new hires in their induction program that helps them to gain new skills for their actual working. Next topic is return on investment on training. when we see or when we check the effectiveness or efficiency of any investment that we make a cost benefit analysis. How much cost we had to incur for that project and how much benefit we have derived. That is the return on investment. So, with the current trend of sourcing young generation employees in the banks, more and more costs are incurred on providing them training programs in-house, seeking low-cost trainers, having more programs in the office premises. Now, how can the managers, they can improve their return on investment on training? They need to first calculate it. So, return on investment is a traditional financial measure that is based on historical data that yields insight into how to improve business results in the future. There's a formula that is used to calculate the ROI, the monetary ROI. We need to identify the total financial benefits the organization draws from the learning program, and then from that we are going to subtract from the total investment made to develop, produce and deliver that program. This will be the total cost. Now it is difficult to measure all of the costs that are associated and even harder to isolate the financial benefits from the program. A simple formula can be seen as total benefits minus total cost, and then we divide this value by the total cost and multiply it by 100 to receive the return on investment. Here total benefits include the money saved by the organization, the money made, and anything that adds directly or indirectly to the benefit. And total cost includes the obvious and not so obvious costs. These are the development costs for the program, learners time away from doing something else if it is off the job training, overhead of training development, physical materials, etc. The cost of coordination, cost of job coverage, overhead of instructors, any cost. Online courses also include servers, graphics, web development. So one needs to be able to prove that the training is actually helping people learn and get converted into measurable results. For that, we compare this. We see what are the total benefits as compared to the total cost while calculating the return on investment. So, how can we measure the success of training? There are certain criteria that will show us whether the training has actually achieved the goals, the desired objectives. Training evaluation is undertaken for this. It is the easiest and lowest level through which the measurement of trainee feedback sheet, we through the feedback sheet can discover whether or not the trainee has actually received or learned something. Training must justify the costs that are incurred by a thorough quantitative analysis. It will indicate with reasonable accuracy a measurable improvement that can be attributed to a program, a particular program that is developed. Training is one of the actions that an organization has to take to improve its profitability. But if it wants to continue that program in the future, we need to see the quantitative analysis. They should be continuously improved to provide better value and increased benefits. And without a formal evaluation, the basis of change can only be subjective. So we need to provide a formal or objective evaluation. Herein, a well-designed evaluation system will also help in selecting better training methods for the future. Currently, there are many alternative approaches that are available to the training departments. There are variety of classrooms, on the job as well as self-study materials. Using the comparative evaluation techniques, organizations can make rational decisions about the methods that they will employ. A trainer has to cover the maximum number of staff. Also, they need to track the numbers through from a different perspective than just mere statistics. Costs that are related to training can be both direct, such as external design, development, consultancy. Also, they can be indirect costs as well, the travel expenses, venue costs, including food and material. So, both of these have to be taken into consideration whether the costs that are incurred are actually helpful. This will make us take decision that in the future we want to use that method or we want to use an alternative. So efficiency is a measure of the amount of learning that is achieved relative to the amount of effort that is put in practical terms, it means the amount of time it takes to complete a piece of training. Efficiency has a direct relation to the cost. more efficient the training is, the less it will cost. So there's a relationship. If less time is taken to complete a training, it is good. If less cost is involved, it is good. So formal evaluation is there, it is to be conducted. For the efficiency of the training, we need to measure whether the method that was used in the past, it had positive effects or not. Then we have the benefits of training. Basically, there are four main benefits: learning, behavioral change, performance change, and attitudinal change. Learning in the terms of new or improved skills, knowledge, and attitudes. This is the primary aim of training. Learning can be measured objectively by when, after a training is completed, a course is taken by the employee or staff, a test or exam can be conducted. It will provide us some assess exercise also. If a trainee has to achieve a certain level of learning to obtain a pass mark in the test that is conducted, then the number will show, it will work as an evaluation measure. Then we have behavioral change. If a student has learned something from a course, it is expected that it will be reflected in the behavior on the job. If a trainee employee, what they have learned appropriately, they're using it, then their behavior will meet the desired criteria. Behavior can be measured through observation. Also, automated means are there. Various instruments can be taken before and after training to measure the behavior. Performance change. If as a result of training, the trainees display appropriate behaviors on the job, then it will mean that the training has indeed caused a positive impact on performance. Now, if we want to measure the real difference in performance, we also need to compare with the control group. Control group is one that has not received a training, that has not received an intervention. We compare that control group with the group of trainees that had received that training. We compare them, we see if our trainees are performing better. And finally, we have attitudinal change. It is proved that attitudes can be changed through training by altering the reinforcements, pointing out the inconsistencies by rational discussions, also by supplying the current information about the person's behavior. Experience from the behavioral science, they focus on behavior and modification. Training for the purpose of bringing about change in attitudes, they should be need based and focused. If an employee has a negative behavior or attitude towards one particular leader, for example, then this is a need based training. These are the benefits that can be derived from a proper, well managed training program. Now we had studied about return on investment. Let us see how is it a measure for the success of training programs. So it is a measure of the monetary benefits that are obtained by an organization over a specified period of time in return for a given investment. We compare the benefits that are occurred with the cost that had been incurred for the training program. Looking at it from another way, it is the extent to which the benefits of the training exceed the cost. The benefit, if they exceed the cost, then we will say that it is a success. It can be used to justify a planned investment and to evaluate the extent to which the desired return was achieved. However, it cannot measure all the aspects of training success, such as whether the trainees liked the program and the extent to which the trainees' personal objectives were achieved. The reason to train should be to improve the company's bottom line. This is the main point. So the investment in training consists of the cost of training, the time that is spent. By measuring the effect of the company profits then before and after training, and we can compare it with the cost, we can determine the return on investment. Now, for training to be effective, support should come from the top. That is, the managers, the executives, they should be willing to provide training. They should be willing to invest time and cost. It should be a part of the business strategies. So how can the organizations embrace the generational differences in the workplace? This is also another issue. Organizations, they have multifaceted generations that are working in the workplace. We have talked about the middle age group, the younger generation. So solution can be, organizations can start by taking inventory of the different generations that make up their workforce, and then accordingly develop a plan that will address the expectations and requirements of each generation. We need to identify all the age groups, the different age groups that are working, and we know that one plan or one strategy is not going to effectively strategize all the generations. So we need to prepare a plan for each of the generation. Also, for training to be effective, like we said, support must come from the top, a clear mandate to the training department that training is an investment and must be able to generate returns like any other investment. Thus, the plan of training should include the specific guidelines, and it should serve as a blueprint to ensure that the managers are managing, developing, evaluating, and rewarding each generation accordingly. So these are going to measure. Training is thus much more important during these times when there is recession going on. So the employees, they need new skills if they want to continue in their organization. Thus, training is important, and we can also measure it through the return on investment that is made on the training program. Finally, let us see what are the best practices in training to help the organizations. First, we have onboarding, because effective talent management, it starts with the employees first day on the job. So organizations should fine tune the onboarding process. This can be done by incorporating the programs that specifically address the generational differences. Here in older workers, for example, they may not be as comfortable or advanced using the technology as their generation X or Y colleagues. So programs so that they can be familiarized with the technology that is in the organization that they have to use in the job can be helpful. Here in hands-on training around the technology can be provided. Second is training and career development. In addition to addressing the different learning styles, an effective training program should also address the generational differences. We are paying emphasis on this many times that baby boomers, for example, they tend to prefer the relationship based learning, while the Gen X workers prefer to engage in the independent learning. We have discussed this. Accordingly, the traditional classroom instruction should be avoided for the new generation. They should be provided more collaborative or internet based learning. So while the generational differences, their expectations and approaches, this vary, organizations can adjust their horizontal talent management so as to accommodate each generation. Solutions should be designed to make specific learning offerings to the available users. Organizations can also tailor such solution to ensure that the employees are receiving and interacting with the most appropriate and relevant learning and training information. So, a training methodology that is going to provide benefit to all the employees, irrespective of their generation or their age group, this will make it a success. So in this chapter, we have seen how learning is important for training, what is the training methodology, the different types of training. Also, we have seen the various basic skills of leadership and how generational employees are there in the workplace, and we can make the best practices in training that will help them have career development. With this, we have come to the end of this lesson. Keep learning with us. Thank you.